I'm going to be sharing my predictions for this year's Call of the Abyss, and this is not a guide, this is simply how I am predicting things will go based on the team's past performance, as well as how I'm feeling about these teams and where they stand. So let's take a look at Group A. All of these teams are from China except for Zeta. And number 1, I'm going to put GG. They have done very well in China's IVL and came straight to COA. Number 2, let's do Zeta. They're a strong team from Japan. And third, I'm thinking MRC as the last one who moves on from this stage. So Zeta number 2, honestly, I'm not exactly sure about this because last year I predicted that they would go pretty far in the finals, but they ended up getting eliminated really early on against a Chinese team that was, I guess you could say, mid at best. So I feel like their standing among these other Chinese teams is a little bit contested at the moment. But personally, I'm still going to say that they have quite high potential, and that's why they go number 2 for me. MRC and number 3, I think they just have the possibility of being more stable than the other two, and I'm going to go ahead and fill out GR and Dole 5 as 4 and 5. This is a little bit up in the air too, but I just feel like these two teams have had less stable performances in qualifiers or in IVL compared to the other teams. Let's go ahead and look at Group B. Number 1 in Group B, I'm going to go ahead and fill out RC. Number 2, we'll go with HHDG from China. Number 3, RD from the Hong Kong, Macau, Taiwan region. So for Group B, this is also interesting because every team here is from a different region. Like, I was watching HHDG's Hunter in their video and they were saying like, oh my gosh, I don't even know anything about these other teams. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. They'll have a lot of studying to do. But as far as this ranking, I am putting RC as number 1 because they have a bit more of a professional experience since they are from Japan's IJL. And I think in that sense, they have the advantage, especially on the hunter side, because these league hunters tend to have a greater hunter character pool compared to some of these community teams. And when you get later into the later rounds, like round 3 and beyond, it's really important to have hunters that you can choose from a bunch of different options and you don't just get hard countered by the survivors because they know exactly who you're going to play. So I think that in this sense, we'll go ahead and choose RC as number 1, followed by HHDG, who has been quite competitive as a Chinese community team. They've managed to take on some of the professional Chinese teams, so I think it's fair to put them in number 2, or you could even say that they have a chance at number 1, but I personally am going to say that RC has more experience in terms of these kinds of competitive environments. So that's why I'm putting them in number 1. Number 3, we have RD, and I do feel like they're going to be a little bit weaker than the first two teams just because of the hunter issue that I mentioned, not having as many hunters that you have expertise in. Number 4, let's go with FT, and number 5, Omni. You can choose these two how you'd like, but personally, this is just how I'm feeling for my predictions. Okay, Group C, number 1, let's go ahead and do Wolves. Number 2, I'm feeling SZ. Number 3, TE. Oops, number 2 is SZ. Number 3 is TE. Yep, so these 3 teams are all very strong teams. Wolves is the reigning IVL champion from China. SZ, one of the top Japanese teams. I mean, they came straight to COA, so arguably the top Japanese team based on their IJL winning performance as well. And then TE for China, they've just been very decent. I would say that you could argue any of these teams can get first. So this is how I'm going to do it, but I do think all of them have a shot. And then for 4 and 5, let's go ahead and do B4U and Cat. I think the Korean teams always tend to be a wild card. So we'll see how Cat does, but as far as B4U, I've actually never put an NA team in anything other than last place, so I kind of just want to try something new and switch it up this time, but I would say it's hard to tell exactly which team is stronger. I think both teams, though, would have a hard time beating any of the other 3 teams, so 4 and 5 feels fairly solid here. And then Group D, I'm going to go ahead and choose... Oh, this is hard, but I'm going to choose WBG as my first, and then ZQ as second. You could argue that ZQ might be stronger than WBG, or, you know, the other way around. Honestly, WBG and ZQ both have really strong hunters. WBG, Weibo Gaming, they have Alex. ZQ has DX or Dongxuan. So they're solid on that side. And the Survivor side, you could argue ZQ has a more cohesive Survivor team, but I think WBG to me feels more experienced, so I'm going to put them as number 1 in terms of just their player reputation and experience. And then in terms of number 3, let us go ahead and do Axis, followed by AWG for number 4. So these are not the strongest Japanese teams, I would say, but I do think AWG struggled a little bit in qualifiers, so I'm going to put them as number 4. And then 5th, we'll go ahead and do GH, last but not least. All right, that is it for my predictions, and I think last year I did pretty good with my group stage predictions, but it was really when we got to the top 12 in the finals where things did not go quite as I expected. So we'll see how things go this year. Feel free to leave in the comments below what your predictions are, and I'm excited to see how this is all going to play out. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.